Yeah, Vishal, hello. I'm audible. Hello. Am I audible to you, Vishal?
Oh, hi Rian.
Yeah. Hello. So should I start, Vishal? Because there is no single participant.
Uh, 5 मिनट्स वेट कर लीजिए आप
Right.
तो स्टार्ट कर
Right.
ओके
Hello. Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible to everyone. Right. So today is our first class of managerial economics, and basically, first we have to, know about the syllabus. And here we have in your syllabus you have 5 blocks, right? And uh, as far as I am seeing the syllabus, you have 5 blocks. First is introduction to managerial economics, in which there we have 3 units. Second is demand, supply, and revenue analysis. We have 3 units. Third block is production and cost. We have 3 units. Fourth block we have 3 units, and 5 blocks also have 3 units, right? It is macroeconomics last block. So we have to we have to study each block unit wise, all the units, and respectively. So today we are going to start the block first, and the topic of unit 1 is basic concepts and principle of economics, right? So first I want to share my screen so that we can have a PPT, right? And I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Right. So our first topic for the day is uh, the basic principles of economics, right? And the first topic is basic principle economics, right? The paper is managerial economics, and the course code is MG06102, right? So first, today we are going to start the very basic principles of economics, uh, which everyone should know if he is studying economics. If he want to gain the knowledge of economics, he should have the basic knowledge. He should know the basic principles of economics, right? So our first uh, slide, right? It right. So it first we should know what is economics, right? Why? What is the concept? Why there is a need to study economics? So basically, economics is a social science, right? And because it is a social science because it is dealing the problems of society, right? It is dealing the problem of society. It is science because it's its study is totally based on facts, on hypothesis. We have to prove certain laws. We have to apply them like the science does. Social science, right? It is a social science that is that is dealing the problems of society, right? So it is a social science that is dealing the problems of society. Now the what is economics, right? So basically there are two things, right? One is want and other are resources, right? Our wants, the human being wants, right? The need of the humans, the wants of the humans, that basically are unlimited, right? In nature, our wants are unlimited in nature. We have unlimited wants. Some are some are recurring in nature. That means like food. Food is a want that is recurring in nature. It keeps on recurring every day, right? Right. If we had food in breakfast, then again we want to have food in afternoon. Then again we want to have food in night. So these there are certain bonds which are recurring in nature also, and there are certain bonds which are which are not, which cannot be fulfilled to the to the fullest, right? So but, and if we want to make our want fulfill, we need certain resources, but the problem is the resources are limited, right? There are the resources that we want to fulfill our wants that are limited in nature. So that is this is the thing that actually start the problem. There is a continuous struggle of wants and resources, right? So because we have unlimited resources, we have unlimited wants, we have limited resources, we have unlimited wants. So there is we have to uh, right. So it is the place where economics actually works, right? It tried to make balance. So basically this the concept of scarcity starts here, between unlimited wants and limited resources, because there is a gap which is called as scarcity of what? Scarcity of resources in relation to wants, right? So scarcity is actually led to the birth of economics, right? So basically economics is a social science that deal with the scarcity of resources, right? Because there is a scarcity of resources, that's why we need economics, right? We try to make balance between wants and our resources, right? The limited resources which we have. So this is the actual problem that economics study. It try to make balance between the wants and resources, the scarcity gap that is being created. So basically now when there is scarcity of resources in relation to demand, now we have what we have to do. So basically the thing is that we should make choice, right? We should make choice what want we are to fulfill and what not, right? So it is the economics that tell us how to make choice, right? How to make choice when there is scarcity of resources. When there's the actual scarcity of resources, how we have to make choice in relation to the demand, in relation to the wants, right? Unlimited wants. So it is economics help us to make choice to cope up with the scarcity. The gap is being created, the gap which is created because of the scarcity of resources in relation to unlimited wants. So basically it tells us how to make choice, and choice can be made through prices, right? Basically we usually make choice based on prices, based on income. So these are the things that is the concern of economics. Basically scarcity is the mother of economics. Some economics has said that scarcity is the mother of economics. Where there is a scarcity, there is and there will be there will definitely be a need of economics, right? So basically economics is the study of scarcity of resources. Where there is a scarcity of resources, we need economics, and economics ultimately tell us how to make choice based on prices, right? Based on income. So there are certain variables which ultimately take took into concern regarding the study of regarding the uh, scarcity problem, right? So it is the economics that tell us how to make choice when there is scarcity of resources, right? So basically it is a social science that is ultimately, in a nutshell, we can say that economics is a social science that tell us how to make choice when there is scarcity of resources, when there is a shortage of resources, how to make choice, right? So basically it creates mainly three problems, right? Basically the scarcity problem creates the three big problem, right? What to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, right? Because there is a scarcity of choices, you have to make choice. So it's create three big questions. First is what is what to produce, how to produce, and whom to produce, right? For economy, these are the three big questions that is being created because of the scarcity of resources. So what to produce is basically the choice of goods, right? choice of goods. What are the goods that we have to produce on priority basis? Because a country cannot produce all the goods at a time, right? It kind of lead to it kind of have to make choice between the scarcity between the goods, because there is a scarcity of goods, right? So basically now country have to make choice. It has to make choice. It has to make choice. Country has to make choice. So basically, what type of goods a country should produce? Like if it want to produce war goods, or if want to produce mass goods, if it want to produce some any sort of goods which are on priority basis, right? So a country has to make choice. It there is a necessity. A country has to make choice, because there is a scarcity of goods and resources, right? The second problem is what to produce. What to produce is sorry, second problem is how to produce, right? How to produce is basically the problem of choice of technique, right? Choice of technique. Now if a country decided how much what type of goods it is need to be produced, right? Now the second question is how that good is going to be produced, right? So here the question arises of choice of technique, how it is going to produce that good. So basically there are two type of techniques that is being used to produce goods, right? First is uh, uh, capital intensive technique, and second is labor intensive technique, right? First is capital intensive technique is basically the technique in which mo- larger amount of capital is being used, machinery is being used, right? So, and the labor technique is being in which there is a large amount of labor is being used, right? So a country has to decide uh, the technique it it want to produce goods. The goods which need to be produced, the technique it has, the country has to make choice in the technique of production also, because it cannot use all the technique both the techniques at a time. It has to make choice whether it will go with labor intensive or whether it will go with capital intensive, right? So this is the problem of how to produce, right? And the third problem, that is for whom to produce, right? For whom to produce. So basically the third problem, whom to produce, is concerned with the problem of allocation of resources, right? Sorry, distribution of resources. For whom the goods which are being produced now, who will get those goods, that good, right? So it is kind of problem of uh, distribution of goods within the society, right? So basically if a country is capitalist economy, definitely the good will go as per the as per your work, right? How you are working. So whosoever is earning, he will get the good, right? But if your economy is a socialist economy, it will definitely distribute to uh, to all the people equally, because the socialist concept is related to welfare, right? So these are the three big problems that is being created because of the scarcity of resources. Any each and every country has to face these three big problems, right? Three big problems that needs to be mm, faced by the country, right? And uh, overall we can say, overall in a nutshell we can say, all these three big problems, they have one common problem. That is one of the biggest problem actually, right? And that is the in all the three problems we have seen the allocation of resources, right? There is a shortage of resources in every three big problems, whether it is what to produce, whether it is how to produce, whether it is whom to produce. We have seen all the three big problems. All the three big problems we have uh, scarcity of resources, right? So ultimately, in all the three big problems, we have to look. We have to basically manage our resources. We have to allocate our resources, scarce resources, in such a way that we get maximum utilization of resources, right? So these are the three big problems that is being created by the scarcity of resources. Now the next part is economics is basically divided into uh, two uh, branches mainly, right? Although it has many sub branches also, but basically there are two big branches of economics. First is microeconomics and second is macroeconomics, right? Microeconomics is basically dealt with the problem of individual variables, right? When we study the individual variables, we need microeconomics, right? We need microeconomics. And when we study the economy as a whole, when we study about the aggregates, we need macroeconomics, right? So microeconomics is a branch of economics, the study of behavior of individual units, right? Microeconomics is the study of individual variables, whereas macro is a part of economics that focus on how to focus on general economic problems of the market of different systems of aggregate variables, right? Now micro has basically two big tools. First is demand and second is supply, right? But on the other hand, macro deals with the two big tools, that is aggregate demand and aggregate supply, right? Basically microeconomics assume macro variable will remain constant, right? That is called ceteris paribus. So in all the micro variables, when we study micro variables, we have to kept macro variable constant, right? We have to make macro variable constant. We don't make them change, right? Like income, like saving, like consumption, like investment, all the variables when we study micro, we used to kept content constant. Otherwise, if we does not kept constant, it will definitely affect the micro variables in some other way, right? So we have to kind of constant assumption of constancy, constant assumption of a certain variables where we take into concern. And when we study the macro variables, we when we study macro variables, we used to kept micro variable constant, right? So these are the basic assumptions that we study. Basically, micro is the determination of price of commodity or factor of production. Micro involves a limited aggregation of degree, for example, market demand. And when we study, when we the basic aim of macro is the determination of income and employment. So it is a macro concern. When we study the microeconomics, it is concerned with the price of the commodity, price of the factor of production, cost, revenue. But the basic aim of macro is determination of income and employment at the macro level, at the country level. So in a nutshell, we can say that micro is the study of in individuals of specific sectors of the economy, whereas macro is the study of whole of the economy, right? For example, if we are studying we can say, like, if we want to study the demand and supply analysis, or some cost analysis of a specific university, right? So that is the concern of micro. For example, if we want to study the cost and revenue analysis of Mangalatan University, right? So that is the concern of micro, because we are only focusing on Mangalatan. But if if we want to get the knowledge of demand, cost and revenue of all the universities, of the private universities we have, deemed universities we have, so ultimately it will go into macro concern, because we have to see all the other all the universities, right? So basically this is the concern. Micro is basically deal with individual units, whereas macro is dealt with aggregate variables, right? Now the next is economic principles, right? These are the economic principles that you can see on your screen. Everything has a cost. Definitely, everything has a cost because everything is usually limited. Everything is not available like air and water. If everything is available in the form of air and water, so we don't think we have. There is no need. I don't think though there will be a need to study something, right? So basically everything, every materialistic thing has a cost. People choose good for good reasons, right? So people has to make choice for certain reasons, based on their rationality. They they have to make choice, uh, based on their rationality, right? So because there is a scarcity of goods and services, so there is a need of there is a need of there is a need of Can you now see my slides? Can you see my screen?
Yes, now I can.
Right. Okay. So these are the principles that we were discussing. Everything has a cost. Everything that is materialistic, it has to be a certain cost because it is scarce in nature, right? And the second is people choose for good reasons. Definitely, people choose for good reasons because every choice is based on rationality. So every we whatever we used to do, we used to do for good reasons. What is incentive? Definitely incentive matter if we want to do good in society, and if we want to do less bad in society, we have to give incentives. So incentives definitely matter. It basically improves the performance. And the fourth is people create economic systems to influence choices and incentive. Definitely people creates different economic systems, like capitalist system, we have socialist system, we have mixed system. So there are certain systems in which choices and incentives basically goes on together. People definitely gain from voluntary trade also. They do voluntary trade to make gains in certain situations. And economic thinking is a marginal thinking, right? Economic thinking is marginal thinking. That means it kept on changing, right? It is not a stagnant thing. It is not a fixed thing. It kept on changing, right? When in different situations we behave, for example, we behave uh, 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 in different situations. The value of goods and services is affected by the people choice. Definitely the value of goods and services is definitely affected by the people choice because if there is a scarcity of good, its value will definitely be more in relation to its demand. The price will be high. So basically, and it will definitely affect the people choice, right? So value of goods and services is definitely affected by the people choice. If people want more of a good, the price will definitely be high. So basically, people choice will definitely affect the value of goods and services. The last is economic actions create secondary effects, right? So economic actions are definitely create secondary effects on the choice of the people. uh, and the next slide is right. Positive and normative economics, right? Positive and normative. This is a very interesting concept that is related to economics. There is a subdivision in the form of positive and normative economics, right? Basically, when we talk about the positive economics, it tell us what it you positive economics basically, it focuses on the facts of the economy. Whatever is fact that we are studying in the economy, it is called it is related to positive economics, right? For example, there are certain factual things, factual variables, right? Like inflation. For example, inflation basically is a general rise in price level, right? So basically it is a problem of whole of the country. It is basically the problem of whole of the, I think, of any of the economy, right? So no country basically doesn't want to have inflation in its economy, right? It basically try to moderate it to the minimal level. So basically it is a factual thing because it is happening. It happens to all of the economy. It creates trouble for the economy, for the people, for the middle class people, right? And if it goes down below a certain level, definitely it will also create a problem of deflation, right? There will be recession in the economy, there will be depression in the economy, there will be low aggregate demand in the economy, there will be unemployment. So basically inflation is creating problems in some other way, right? So it is a fact. Any of the variable that works for the economy, right? It is a part of positive economics. So what it is, when we study what it is, so we study about the facts, and that is the part of positive economics, right? So it is basically, as you can see on your screen, concerned with descriptive and conditional statements. Descriptive portray things as they are or have been in the past, right? So actually the things, those things which are actual things, basically is concerned with positive economics. Conditional forecast based on careful analysis of the economic behavior also. Now we move to normative economics, right? Normative economics is basically concerned with value judgments, right? It basically focuses on value judgments, right? What ought to be, it is not related to the facts. It is based on value judgments, right? For example, if we go with our example, that is inflation. So inflation is definitely is not a good thing, right? So every country want to make it moderate, to the moderate level, to the minimal level, right? And so there are certain policies which need to be taken care when which need to be executed, implemented to tackle the problem of inflation, right? So there are two policies that took place, that need to be taken into consideration when we study the problem of inflation. First is monetary policy, second is fiscal policy, right? Monetary policy is the policy which is related with the supply of money in the economy, and it is basically run by the monetary authority of the country. That is, in our country it is the RBI, that is dealing with monetary. There are certain tools which can be used to tackle the problem of inflation through monetary policy. There are certain tools like bank rate, like CRR, cash reserve ratio, like SLR, uh, margin requirement, like open market operations. These are the tools that is being used to tackle the problem of inflation, because inflation is directly related with the supply of money. When there is, definitely it will lead to more demand in the economy, and because we have supply constraint, so definitely it will increase the demand in relation to supply, and it will ultimately lead to rise in price level, right? So basically monetary policy can be used to tackle the problem of supply of money, which will ultimately affect the demand, and ultimately it will sort out the problem of inflation in some or other way, right? Then there is a policy of fiscal policy also. Fiscal policy is the policy which is run by government. The policy of taxation, the policy of budget. The policy of budget is basically this called the policy called fiscal policy, right? It has two main variables: expenditure and revenue. So if there is inflation, government will reduce the expenditure, government will increase the taxation, so that it will lead to a reduction in purchasing power of the people, right? So basically these are the policies which need to be tackled. So these policies are the part of normative economics, right? It deals with the value judgment, right? Do like this, do like this, there is a situation of this, so we have to do like this, right? So expert advice, expert judgments, expert value judgments basically makes the part of normative economics, right? So in a nutshell, we can say that positive economics deals with fact, and normative economics deal with value judgments, value judgment principles, right? I hope it must be clear to you. Hope I am clear to you, Samriddhi Chaturvedi.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right, and the another basic concept is scarcity. I have explained it in the starting slides also. The scarcity is the mother of economics. Where there is a scarcity, there is a need of economics, because there are limited. We have unlimited wants, and we have limited resources. Right, our wants kept on increasing day by day, keeps on increasing, and it will definitely kept going on till our last day, till we become dead, right? So there is no end to our wants, our demand. It kept on increasing day by day, it kept on moving day by day, but the resources that is used to fulfill those wants are limited in nature, right? So it will create the scarcity. Scarcity of what? Scarcity of resources in relation to demand, right? So that's why there is a need of economics. So basically, scarcity creates the birth of economics. Where there is a scarcity, we need economics. It is the economics that tell us how to make choice when there is a scarcity of resources. So whenever there is a scarcity of resources, we have to make choice. For example, if you go to market and for shopping, you basically, in back of the mind, you actually want to, you know uh, purchase whole of all the things that you like, but definitely you will not purchase all the things, because there is a money constraint, right? There is a resource constraint. You have limited money income. So now you will make choice. Either you will purchase jeans, either you will purchase shirt, either you will purchase any of your choice to thing of your choice, right? Because you can't purchase all the things at a time, because there is a money constraint, there is a money limitation. You have limited amount of money in your pocket, so you have to make choice. So you basically make choice with the prices. With the prices you make choices, and uh, and it is the economics that basically tell us what would be the price, right? What is to be produced, what is to be purchased, what things we basically need to fulfill our want, fulfill our desire, fulfill our needs. So basically we have to make choice. So basically is scarcity is the mother of choice, basically, right? And the problem of choice is basically dealt by economics overall, right? It creates three big problems: what to produce, how to produce, and whom to produce, right? And these three big problem have the same common problem, that is the scarcity of resources, right? Allocation of scarce good among competing ends. As you can also see on your screen also, the study of allocation of scarce resources among competing ends, right? And human wants tend to be unlimited. Definitely human want, I have told you earlier also, human wants tend to be unlimited, but human natural and capital resources are limited. So we have to make choice. We have to make choice, and the choice is the concern of economics, right? The next slide is the method of dealing with scarcity. People can do without some of the things they have. Can do without some of the things they have. People can create more resources by new discoveries. So basically, these are the problems that can be dealt with the scarcity problem. People can do without some of the things they want, right? So people can live without some of the things they want. We have, because there is a scarcity of resources. You cannot do all the things. You cannot have all the things at a time. You have to, uh, give up some of the things. And second is, people can create more resources by new discoveries, more training, better tools. People can produce more by better use of resources. So people can also create more resources buy new discoveries, more training, better tools also, so they can deal with that the problem of scarcity also. People can produce more by better use of resources, that is optimum utilization of resources. Whatever your resources you have in your pocket, you have to make the best use of it, better use of it. So it will lead to deal with problem of scarcity. The last is people can redistribute goods and services so that everyone has enough, right? So there is a, when we talk about the society level, people resources can be redistributed in some other way so that everyone has enough resources, although it is an ideal situation, but it may happen, if people want it, they can redistribute goods and services to the society, right? So the next is, our next slide is opportunity cost. Oh, this is one of the most important concept in economics when we deal with the problem of choices, when we deal with the problem of resources, scarce resources. This is one of the most important concept, that is the of economics. No other uh, subject consider this cost, but it is the economics that consider this cost, that is called opportunity cost, right? It is the it is the best, it is the value of the next best alternative that is being used, right? So because there is a scarcity of choices, a scarcity of resources, you have to make choice. You cannot go uh, with all your wants. You cannot fulfill your wants, so you have to give up one want for the other, right? So there is a cost involved in that. When you are giving up something for something, you have there is a cost involvement in it, right? So the most highly valued sacrifice alternative, right? So it is a foregone cost. It is the value of the benefits of the foregone alternative. So the next best alternative that could have been chosen but was not, right? That could have been chosen, but we have foregone it for something, right? For example, it can be understood with the help of with a very very simple example, right? For example, I have 1 lakh rupees. I have 1 lakh rupees in my pocket, and I want to I have two options, right? For example, somebody came to me and said, Rehan sir, can you give me 1 lakh rupees? I'll give you 10,000 rupees per month, right? For 1 year, for example. And another person came to me, he's saying that, Rehan sir, can you lend me your 1 lakh rupees? I'll give you 5% interest on monthly basis, for example, right? Definitely I'll definitely not go for both the choices, right? Because I have limited money, right? So that's why I'll choose one of the option. Either I will go with 10,000, or either I will go with 5%, right? And if I am going with 10,000, I am foregoing the interest of 5%. So 5% is the opportunity cost of 10,000, right? And if I go with 5%, I will be foregoing the value of amount of 10,000 rupees, right? So if I go with 10,000, 5% will be the opportunity cost of 10,000. And if I go with 5%, 10,000 will be the opportunity cost of 5%, right? So in both the situation, I have to give up something. I have to give up certain amount, and that is called opportunity cost, right? So opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative that has been foregone, right? So in every aspect of life, we have to forgo something, right? We have to forgive, we have to left away something. We basically whatever we are doing, yeah, we do it as per our choice, it is the best, right? So we have to give up something for something. So in economics, it is the opportunity cost that basically the value of the next best alternative that has been forgone because of the limited availability of resources. So basically, this is a concept that is used in production economics. Is It is a very important concept, especially for managerial economics students. It is very important. They should know this basic concept: the opportunity cost, the value of the next best alternative cost, foregone cost also, right? And The next slide is incentives, right? Incentives we have already discussed also. Economics is the study of incentives, how people get what they want or need, especially when other people want or need the same thing. So basically, how people get what they want or need, especially when other people want or need the same thing. So basically, economics is the study of incentives, how the resources can be distributed among the people, because everyone wants the same thing. And incentive is a means of urging people to do more of a good thing and less of a bad thing. I have told you earlier also, it is the mean of urging people to do more of good things when you give incentive to someone, because if it will ultimately have positive effect, a person will definitely do good things and less of bad things. Three basic kind of incentives also, or economic incentives, social incentives, and moral incentive also, right? So often all the three are combined in some other way, right? So these are the incentives that is being used in economics. Now the very important concept that you can see on your screen also, that is called production possibility curve, PPC. PPC is a very important concept because I have told you earlier, there is a problem of scarcity of resources. We have to give up one commodity in order to produce more of other commodity, right? So PPC is a graphical representation showing various maximum combinations of output of a nation, which can be produced with limited resources in a fixed period of time. So basically, production possibility curve shows different possibilities that we can have between the of output of a nation, which can be produced with the limited resources, right? So it is a graphical representation which can be produced with the available resources, right? Assumptions, these are the assumptions of production possibility curve. Whenever we kind of prove something, or we want to basically uh, produce something, we there is a need of assumptions also, right? So these are the assumptions that is used for PPC curve. Two goods are produced, we will have two goods uh, depicting different choices, right? And there is a full employment and full production are achieved, allowing for maximum utilization. So there is a full employment of resources. I mean, whatever resources you are using, it should be fixed. That means we are using the full employment level, full production, full utilization of resources. Short term time frame over which resources cannot be improved or increased, right? So this is the same thing. There is a limited availability of resources, right? The output represented by the curve is limited. The output that is representing by the curve is limited also. As you can see on your screen, this is the production possibility curve, right? It is showing different possibilities. First possibility is A, second is B, and third is C, right? So these are the possibilities. That is, first is product A and second is product B. For example, at this point we can produce some amount of A and some amount of B. The same goes with the B possibility also. Will have some amount of B, some amount of product A and some amount of product B, right? See, so basically you can see that this is increasing, and this one is that means product A is decreasing and product B is increasing. That means we have to give up product A in order to produce more of product B, right? So that's why that is called, this is basically showing the production possibility curve. You have to give up one product to produce more of another product, right? So basically, production possibility curve is 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 a bell shape. It is a bow shaped curve. Basically, it is uh, a curve which is showing the maximum product of X and Y, right? It tell us it basically is concave shape curve, right? There are basically two shape of curves in our economics. First is convex curve and second is concave curve, right? So convex curve and concave are basically based on the shape of the curves, are basically based on the rate, on the change of the variable, right? So if the change is increasing, that means we are giving more and more resources. That will lead to have concave shape, right? And if the rate is decreasing, it will have uh, a convex kind of shape, right? So basically, these are the possibilities of having the shape of basically of the curve. So they basically if the rate is increasing, we have concave shape, and if the rate is decreasing, we have a convex shape, right? And the PPC is always downward sloping, because in economics, when two variables are moving in opposite direction, its curve will be downward sloping, right? Because as you can see that if we want to increase the production of X product A, we have to give up. If we want to have more of product B, right? From this to this to this, we have to give up product A, right? Because of the limited availability of resources, we cannot produce both the good at a time. We have to give up one good in order to produce another good. So we have to give up A. In this diagram, we are giving up A in order to produce more of B, right? So but the rate is increasing, that means we are giving more and more of A, right? Here you can see that, right? We are giving this, now giving up this amount of A, right? This amount of A. Earlier we were giving up this amount in order to produce this amount of B, right? So we are giving more and more of A to produce more of B. That's why its shape is concave to origin, right? If we kind of give up less and less, right? So uh, we will have we will have decreasing rate. So we will have convex shape, right? Convex shape. But here we have to give up more and more amount of good, more and more amount of good, more and more amount of one commodity. That's why its shape is concave to origin. But if its shape is decreasing, its shape if shape is declining, it decreasing, sorry, its rate is decreasing, it will have a convex kind of shape, convex kind of shape, right? So basically the shape of the PPC is concave to origin. Because of the increasing marginal opportunity cost, we are giving up more and more of one good in order to produce more of other good, right? So basically that's why PPC have convex shape, and it is a downward, it is. So as you can see on your screen also, the bow shaped curve is a maximum, as a number of maximum combination of product X and product Y, that is hypothetical economy can produce in the short run. So basically it is a concern of short run. Short run is a period in which some amount of goods are kept constant, some amount of inputs are kept constant, right? So basically PPC is a concern of short run economy. It is a bow shaped curve. It is a number showing maximum combination of X and Y. More X can be produced only with sacrifice of good Y. As I have told you, more X can be produced only with the sacrifice of good Y. So we have to sacrifice more of X to produce good Y. As a nation attempts to produce more of any good, it must accept giving up more and more and more of other goods, right? So if a nation wants to produce more of any good, it must be giving up more and more of another good, right? Because of the scarcity of resources, the opportunity cost increasing at an increasing rate. So MOC, marginal opportunity cost, the change in the rate of opportunity cost is called marginal opportunity cost, and it is increasing, right? That means we have to give up more and more and more of one good in order to produce more of other good. In the conversion of production from X to Y, the most convertible resources were shipped from first, right? When we are converting from X to Y, that means we are giving more of X in relation to Y. We have the thing is that the most convertible resources were shifted first. Once transferred, they are consumed. Once transferred, they are consumed. The resource remaining may not be as convertible and are therefore less. The resources remaining may not be as convertible and are therefore be less productive in producing Y. The yield of good Y will be less. So less output per unit of output, increasing the cost of producing good Y, hence increasing opportunity cost, right? So this is the basic reason for the increasing MOC, right? In the initial phases, there is a chances of most convertible resources were shifted first, and once they are transferred, they are consumed. The remaining resources may not be as convertible, might be, and they are so there and are therefore less productive in producing also. So your yield of good Y will be less. Yield of good Y will be less output per unit of input, and it will increase the opportunity cost. Ultimately, opportunity cost will increase because the yield will be less. after a certain stage, in the initial stage, there will be like a more yield of wine, but ultimately once, because we are dealing in short run, right? Because we are dealing in short run, that's why after a certain stage, less output per unit of input will be there, and because and it will ultimately increase the opportunity cost of producing good wine. So that's why opportunity cost is increasing, right? It will increase, it will have we will have more opportunity cost. We have to give up more and more of one good in order to produce the another good, right? So that's why, uh, because the production is taking place in short run, that's why it is creating this problem, right? But and if we dealt in this in the same situation cannot be dealt in long run, because all the resources are variable. So there is no need of these give up things in long run, right? So these all the problem are occurring because of the nature of the short run. We are dealing in short run, right? Because in short run there are certain resources which have to be fixed, right? Which have to be fixed, right? As you can see in your next slide, uh, as you can see in your next slide, the law of increasing relative cost, right? As the output of good increases, the opportunity cost of producing additional unit of good also increases, right? As you can see on your screen, it is saying that output of good increases, opportunity cost also increases, right? As we produce more of output, more of good, opportunity cost kept on increasing. The reason is, these are the reasons that is leading to rise in increasing in additional unit of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost increasing because of these three reasons, right? These three reasons, and the first reason is law of diminishing returns, right? It is a very important law of economics, of production economics. It is also called law of variable proportion. Also, it is called return to factor. Also, it is also called short run production function. Also, right? It says that when it says basically it says that we have to use a certain amount of fixed factor with variable factors, right? We can't have all the factors variable, right? For example, if we have 1 acre of land and we are utilizing more and more of labor, that is a part of short run, right? Because the land is fixed and labor is variable, right? So ultimately, after some point, successive in equal size increase of resource added to the fixed factor will result in a smaller increase in output. So as we utilize more of variable factor on land, on fixed factor, ultimately what will happen, it will result in a smaller increase in output, right? It will have a smaller increase in output because of the fixity of fixed factor. Land is fixed. So ultimately, when we employ one labor, two labor, three labor, four labor, ultimately a stage will come when you have diminishing returns. The return will start diminishing. You will have low returns ultimately, right? So basically, this is the principle of diminishing return, law of variable proportion. When you apply fixed factor on variable factor on fixed factor, every successive unit, every successive increase of resource of variable factor will definitely lead to result in a smaller increase in output. So first is the reason. Second is diseconomies of scale, right? Diseconomies means the loss that occur during the production process, declining efficiencies of production as output increases, average total cost of production also increases. These are the diseconomies. These are the losses that a business bear when it kind of produce its output, right? So these are the ultimately, after a certain stage, when you start a business, definitely in the initial stage you will have uh, you will have benefits, right? For example, you will have more discount. Your staff is new. It will do its best. It will do its job in the best possible way. And but after some point, there ultimately people get bored. They you will ultimately don't have discount on your production process, and your staff will be overburdened, right? So ultimately, it will decline the efficiencies of production. as output increases after a certain level, right? So ultimately your total cost will average cost will start increasing. You will have more expenditure, you will have more cost, your production process affect you in a declining way. So ultimately these are the diseconomies of scale, right? These are the diseconomies of scale that are being used in that we can see in the production process, that when we are dealing in short run, right? Third is factors of suitability, right? As economy increases production of a specific good, the available resources utilized become less suited for the production of that good, right? So, and as economy increases production of a specific good, so when we increases the production of a specific good, available resources utilized become less suited. So the resources that are being utilized, it become less suited for the production of that good, right? So ultimately a stage, because of the fixity, the reason is that because you are substituting factor on fixed factor, right? You are substituting your variable factors on fixed factor. That's why the available resources utilized become less suited for the production of that good, because ultimately a stage will come when the resource will get overburdened, right? The fixed factor will feel the overburdens on itself. That's why the resources, the production is becoming percent declines, and ultimately cost increases, and ultimately losses will come into form, and ultimately there will be increasing cost, there will be increasing opportunity cost, right? So these are the reasons which led to law of increasing relative cost or the opportunity cost, right? So these are the three big reasons. First is law of diminishing returns, I have explained it. Second is diseconomies of scale. These are the losses that a producer got after a certain stage of production. And third is factors of suitability. Factor might become over utilized, overburdened. They are not suitable to each other. So ultimately, it will have more cost. It will have more opportunity cost. We have to give up more and more of another good, and we will have less production, right? And the next slide is this is the example of graph, perf, and shortage charts, and this is the example. This is the curve. This is the production possibilities A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Right? These are the production possibilities that is showing on PPC curve. And as you can see, you have to give up more and more of graph perfs to have more storage sheds. Right? So basically, this is the reason you have to give up. So its shape is concave to origin, because the rate of opportunity cost is increasing, right? It is increasing. As you can see, -5, -8, -12, -15, -20, -30, -40, the rate is increasing, right? It is increasing. It will have lower production of scrap perfs in relation to shortage storage sheds, right? So this is the example which is showing increasing MOC, increasing opportunity cost, which led to the shape of concave shape of PPC, right? PPC of concave shape, right? So MOC is increasing day by day, increasing with the passage of time, with the production of more of storage shed. So MOC increasing. That's why its shape is concave to origin. The last is 17 is the law of increasing return to scale, right? Where basically, scale is law of increasing return to scale shows the long run production function. Till now, we have studied short run production function, right? Short run. The PPC is dealing in short run, but there is another time period that is called long run production function, long run. So long run is basically deal to return to scale. That means economies of scale, right? Economies of scale means the benefits that we got into long run when we vary all the factor of production. What we got, what we have that is called economies of scale. We basically, in return to scale, we deal with long run production function where all the variables are will remain constant. For example, in the earlier example, in previous example, we have said that I have said that land is fixed and labor is variable. But in long run, land will also change. It will we will also change the fixed factor, that is the land will change, right? So ultimately it will convert into return to scale, right? So it is also called economies of scale. The increase in the rate of extra output produced when all inputs are used in production are increased and no input are held constant. So basically, in return to scale, all the factor of production, whether it is land, whether it is labor, whether it is capital, whether it is enterprise, basically these are the four main factor of production: land, labor, capital, and enterprise. All the factor will got changed, right? In return to scale, in long run, it is also called economies of scale. It is also called long run production function, in which all the inputs are used in production are increased and no inputs are held constant, right? It allows for specialization and division of labor. When you allow specialization and division of labor or specialization means you kind of allot the work as per the capability. So that is called one who is expert in his field. He should do his that work, right? So this is called specialization, and it will have positive effects on your business. You will have positive effect on production. So basically, increasing return to scale also, and in which all the factor got changed. It got changed with the with the increase in inputs. All the inputs got changed, right? So ultimately, our production will move into long run, right? So it is also called economies of scale, right? It is also called economies of scale, but there is no certain, if we talk about long run and short run, there is nothing like time period. For example, in short run we have 5 years, in long run we have more than 5 years. Not like that. It basically based on factor of production, ratio of factor of production. If we are using a factor proportion of fixed factor and variable factor, we are working in short run. Like, we have fixed amount of labor, a fixed amount of land, and changing amount of labor, right? So there is a fixed portion of labor and capital which we are changing, keeping a fixed factor constant, right? So that is the concern of short run, right? But if we kind of changing all the factors, all the ratio, all the factor proportion is changing, then we will be dealing in long run, right? Return to scale. So I hope this difference is clear to everyone, clear to you, Samriddhi. Hope you are getting what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Now the next is productive efficiency and full employment, right? So this is the concern. When we talk about the full employment doesn't mean 100% utilization of a factor. Factor will not normally be 100% utilized. Definitely, in practicality, we cannot use 100%, but definitely we try to make it use maximum possible way. For example, 95% employment rate or 5% employment is equivalent to a full employment, right? So if there is a 95% employment rate or there is a 5% unemployment rate, both are in the same situation. So basically, because that 5% margin is because of people voluntarily changing jobs. Might be people change their job, they are within the job, they are changing, they are moving from one job to another job. Actually, that is not unemployment, right? They are changing a job voluntarily. So basically, like voluntary unemployment is actually not an unemployment, right? Because if I am capable enough, and if I'm lying idle on my bed and I'm not doing any job, still I am very qualified, I have MBA from Oxford or something like that, but I am not doing job, right? So definitely it will it I'll not consider myself, you know unemployed, right? So basically, people voluntarily changing jobs. So that is voluntary unemployment, is actually not unemployment. So that 5% rate, that 5% margin is basically not full employment. It is not unemployment, right? So basically, if there is a 95% employment or there is 5% unemployment, that is fine. Certain amount of re-entry of the labor force. There are certain re-entry of labor force also. Certain amount of job obsolescence, geographical dislocation also. So there may be time period when our job become obsolete, like because of the changing in the technology. There is a let me have water, please. Can you spare for 2 minutes? Yeah, I am audible. Hello, I am audible to you.
Yes, sir, you are.
So we were talking about the full employment level. So when we have 95% employment rate or 5% employment, that both are the same situation. And when people voluntary changing their jobs, will not consider them unemployment. A certain amount of re-entry is possible. Certain amount of job obsolescence also. Some job become obsolete because of the changes in the technology. There are geographical dislocation also. People become unemployed for certain time period because of geographical dislocation also. So these are the reasons which we don't consider as a part of unemployment, right? So full employment doesn't mean 100%, but it is close to 95%, and 5% is the margin, right? Full employment of capital also 85% to 90% capital and capital capacity utilization considered full employment, schedule and unscheduled maintenance also. So basically the same goes with capital also. 85% to 90% capacity utilization considered as full employment of capital, right? And the next is full employment versus full production efficiency, right? Full employment is a utilization concept. All factor of production are employment. Full employment means all factors are fully employed in the production process. All the factors are fully employed. Productive efficiency also, not only one are all factors employed, but they are employed most efficiently. When we talk about the productive efficiency, right, that means all the factor, it doesn't mean all factors are fully employed, right? But the factor that are being employed, they must be used efficiently. There must be a optimum utilization of resources. That means minimum input with maximum output. The resources that are using, it should produce the maximum output. That is called optimum utilization of resources, productive efficiency, right? So the PPC that we studied, every point on PPC curve, represent a point of productive efficiency, right? As you can see, if we see the slide of PPC, these are the points A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. These are the points that are showing the maximum productive efficiency. The point A, B, C, and all, they are showing the maximum possible returns, maximum possible output. That means we cannot produce beyond A. We don't have enough resources to produce beyond B. Any point outside the PPC curve is unreachable, is uh, a country cannot produce beyond the PPC curve. Every point on PPC curve shows maximum utilization of resources, right? That is what he's saying. The productive efficiency on point, all the points is maximum in on PPC. Eh, All the points on PPC curve shows maximum utilization of resources. That is what he's saying, right? Every point on the PPC curve represent a point of productive efficiency. It is showing the maximum possible returns on. Now the next is, okay, right? This is the same, I think. This is the same slide that we have. Productive efficiency means that a nation has utilized the right combination of capital and labor, etc., for the least cost of production. The productive efficiency means that a nation has utilized the right combination of capital and labor. Productive efficiency, if your factor of production are producing, giving you maximum returns, efficient returns, that means the country has utilized the right combination of capital and labor for the least cost production. That least cost production is also called least cost combination. That means the proportion of factor inputs which give minimum, which are being utilized at minimum cost, that is called least cost combination. The factor inputs which are used for the least cost, that is called least cost combination. The nation seeks to minimize waste. To this end, a nation is at point closer and close to its production possibility curve, right? So the point on the PPC curve shows maximum utilization. It shows least cost combination, right? Minimum cost combinations, least cost combination of what? Of inputs. A curve on PPC curve, a point on PPC curve shows the maximum possible returns, right? If a point is above the PPC curve, definitely it will not be reachable to a country. See, as you can see on your slide also, for a very limited time, a country can produce at a level outside of PPC. A country can produce out a PPC, but this is an exceptional case. For example, if a country is trading with another country, it can produce outside the PPC curve, right? Because it will borrow the resources. It will, because see there are 2 points, right? If a country want to produce outside the PPC curve, first thing is that it should have more resources, it should have more technology. So, and this situation will definitely possible in when the country will have trade with another country, right? With another country, when a country can trade with another country, it can try to reach the point outside the PPC curve. But if it is not trading with other country, if it does not trading with another country, it will not reach outside the point of PPC curve, because the point on PPC curve shows maximum utilization. The country doesn't have capacity to produce more on the point, more outside the PPC curve. So for a limited time, for a very limited time, a country can produce at a level outside of the PPC curve, results in overuse of resources and a potential future reduction in output as factories are closed for repairs. Result क्या होगा? Result in overuse of resources and a potential future reduction in output as factories are closed for repairs. Natural resources are exhausted and people recover from overwork, right? So these are the if country want to produce more outside the level of PPC curve, these are the results that may lead to have that will lead to these situations. Result in overuse of resources. The result will be overuse of resources and a potential future reduction in output as factory is closed for repairs. Natural resources are exhausted. Ultimately, when you try to produce outside the PPC curve, your natural resources will got exhausted, and people recover from overwork. Also, people will feel overwork. Ultimately, when there are more use of factories, we will have a more repair work, right? And result is over ultimately the resource use of resources and potential future also, right? So a country can trade with another country to reach outside country point outside the PPC curve. So basically, it is not feasible to produce outside the PPC curve because it will create certain problems for the people, for the society. So the thing is that we should try to produce below the PPC curve or on the PPC curve. A country should not produce above the PPC curve because it will create certain problems in the form of over exploitation of resources. People will be overburdened. There will be overuse of natural resources, and people will also feel overburdened, right? So basically, production possibilities outside the PPC curve is not feasible. Okay, and one should not produce outside the PPC. A country should focus on producing the PPC curve or below the PPC curve, but it cannot produce, because if a country is producing below the PPC curve, there are chances it might increase in its production on itself. It might increase its resources. It might utilize its resources, right? If, for example, if let me have slide that. Yes, this. For example, if there's a point here, right? For example, if there's a point here, that means this is the point below the PPC curve. So a country, if it is producing below the PPC curve, it will produce 200 crab curbs, and it will have 3 storage shells, right? So basically, a country has the chance to increase its production. That means it can have more of storage shed while giving up more of crab puffs, right? So basically, this is the point of underutilization of resources. So a country has the capacity to produce and can move to the PPC curve, right? It can move from this to this place, from this point to this point or this point, right? But it basically, it has the chance, it can do it by itself. It doesn't need any other trading partner or any borrowing of resources. It can do it by itself, because at the point below the PPC curve is not showing the optimum utilization of resources. That means it has the capacity, it has the capability to utilize more of its resources and can use the best possible use, right? So it can move from this point to this point also, right? So basically, a point below the PPC curve showed underutilization of resources. A point on the PPC curve shows maximum utilization of resources, and outside the PPC curve, it is not feasible to produce outside the PPC curve because a country itself does not have the enough capacity, enough power, enough resources to produce outside the PPC curve, right? So these are the points that need to be taken care of. Point outside the PPC curve, point on the PPC curve, and point below the PPC curve, right? So it all depends on the utilization of resources. I hope I am clear to you now.
Yes, sir.
Right. Then there is absolute and comparative advantage. Basically, these are the principles of trading, right? When a country trades with another country, it basically use these absolute and comparative advantage principles, right? And basically, these are the principles that is being used in trading, international trade. Absolute advantage is the principle that is given by Adam Smith, right? Adam Smith. I hope you know who is Adam Smith. Samriddhi, do you know who is Adam Smith?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, right. Adam Smith is the father of economics, right? He introduced the economics. You should remember this for your lifetime. Adam Smith is the father of economics, right? And the second concept that is given by the comparative advantage, right? This is the concept that is given by David Ricardo, right? David Ricardo is also economist, and he has given this concept of comparative advantage. So first is absolute advantage, second is comparative advantage. Basically, these are the principles that is being used in trading. When a country trade with why a country trade with another country. So these are the principles that is being used, that they give, these principles give the answers of these questions. Why a country trade with another country? Why there is a need of trade? Why there is a need of trade? Can you answer me why there is a need of trade?
To get more resources or exchange of resources, maybe?
Right, okay, right. So these are the principles that that give us answer, give our answer. First is absolute advantage, that is given by Adam Smith. A person has an absolute. Adam Smith says that a person has an absolute advantage in the production of two goods, right? A person has an absolute advantage in the production of two goods if by using the same quantities of inputs, that a person can produce more of both the goods, right? So a person is using some amount of input to produce two goods, right? A person can produce more of both goods with same amount of inputs. For example, it is using 2 units of labor and 3 units of capital, and it is producing 10 units of X and 10 unit of 15 unit of Y, right? And the other person is also using the same input, but it is producing less output, right? So a person A has absolute advantage because it can produce more of both the goods than another person with same input. So it has an absolute advantage because it is using those inputs in such a way, in efficient way, that it is giving him maximum possible returns in comparison to the person B. That's why it has an absolute advantage. So country has absolute advantage if its output per unit of another country. We can understand with it with the example of India and America, right? The absolute in America has an absolute advantage in capital intensive goods, right? India has an absolute advantage in labor intensive goods because India has a excess amount of labor. It does not have excess amount of capital. India is a capital importing country, right? It always used to import capital, technology from developed nations. So it has absolute advantage in labor intensive technology, right? Labor. But it has disadvantage. It has absolute disadvantage in capital intensive technology, right? So a country has in India has an absolute advantage in labor intensive because it can produce labor intensive goods with less. It can produce more goods by using labor intensive technology, right? It will have and ultimately, when we compare it with America can produce capital intensive goods, more capital intensive good with same amount of inputs in comparison to India, right? India don't have the capacity to produce more amount of capital intensive goods with same inputs. So this is the concern of absolute principle, right? With the same inputs you are using, you are producing more amount of commodities, more amount of goods, more amount of output, right? So this is the concern, and ultimately it applies to various countries also. At trading level, at international trade. And the second principle is comparative advantage, right? Comparative advantage. Comparative advantage means a person or country has a comparative advantage in an activity if that person or country can perform the activity as lower opportunity cost, right? So if a person has a comparative advantage That means if it is producing a commodity at lower opportunity cost. If a country, if a person is, if a producer is producing at lower opportunity cost, it has comparative advantage in relation to other in comparison to another person or another country, right? Lower opportunity cost means it is giving up more less and less amount of good, right? So if a country is giving up less amount of good for producing another good, in one situation, in relation to another country or another person, it will have comparative advantage. So when we basically study the comparative advantage, we have to kept in mind that it is talking about the opportunity cost. So whatever a person or a country is producing, if it is producing at lower opportunity cost, it have comparative advantage, right? And if it is producing more of uh, more of more lower opportunity cost, it will have definitely have comparative disadvantage, right? So we can explain, we can study, we can understand it with an example also. The same example, America and US and India has comparative advantage in labor intensive. So if it is producing labor intensive goods, it will have lower opportunity cost of labor intensive good. America will have disadvantage in labor intensive because it will produce the same amount of goods, labor intensive goods at more opportunity cost. Okay, and the second thing, if America has comparative advantage in capital intensive goods because it will produce those goods at lower opportunity cost, right? And the same goes for India. India will have comparative disadvantage because in capital intensive goods, because it will have a more opportunity cost on capital intensive goods because it has to give up more and more amount of goods to produce more capital intensive goods. That's why India have a disadvantage of capital intensive goods, right? So I hope this principle is clear. Absolute advantage and comparative advantage. I hope it got clear to you.
Yes, sir. But I have a little question.
Right.
What what is capital intensive good and labor intensive good?
Capital intensive goods are those goods in which there is more use of technology, there is more use of machines, there is more use of fertilizers, there is more use of machinery, right? Equipments, tools, fertilizers. These are the capital intensive goods. Labor intensive are those goods in which there is a more use of labor, manual goods that are being used by, like India. We have we have certain goods which are actually prepared by people manually, right? So basically, so the big differentiation is of technology. Technologically driven goods are capital intensive goods, and labor intensive goods don't have enough technology being used. I got clear to you.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.
So basically, absolute advantage and comparative advantage are basically based on the uh, principle you given by Adam Smith and comparative advantage, right? So with that slide, we have completed our first lecture of this nature, and uh, I hope you can see this is the first topic. We have 5 blocks. Earlier, I have told also there are 5 blocks in which have each block have 3 units. Oh, Samriddhi, have you seen the syllabus of managerial economics?
Uh, I am not very sure about that.
Right. You have the syllabus.
Uh, I'll have to check it online, but I'm sure that it is over there in the blocks.
Kindly check it. But I'm briefing you now. There are 5 blocks, and in each block there are 3 units that we have to look up. We have to study, and let me check it. I have it on my mail also. Yes. So There are 5 blocks. First block is introduction to managerial economics, and second block is demand, supply, and revenue analysis. Third is production and cost analysis. Fourth is pricing decision and profit planning, and fifth is macroeconomics. Right. In each blocks we have 3 units. Right. So first unit we have 2 topics. First unit we have completed today. We have completed our first unit, basic concepts and principle of economics. Right. Then we have introduction to managerial economics, nature and scope of managerial economics also. And in the third unit, we have importance and significance in decision making, managerial economics role, responsibilities, and functions. Right. So ultimately we will complete our first block in 3 of the classes. Okay, and the second block is demand and supply. Right. So I hope you got clear. You got clear the syllabus.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Will you be posting these slides later on?
See, this is my first class, and I am joined today also. I have no idea how to post. I'll let it know from the concerned department, and if it's feasible, I'll post it.
Okay, thank you.
I'll post it, and this one. This is our next topic. We can have a brief idea also. This is the nature and scope of managerial economics. Have you any idea, Samriddhi, what is managerial economics?
It's like applied economics, like you use economics to make decision in your managing corporate world, sort of.
Right. Okay. So, what have you done in your graduation?
I have done BBA.
Right. So, you definitely have studied this managerial economics.
Yes, but it's been a while, so I don't remember quite a lot of it.
Right. Right. So, from where did you graduate BBA?
Kalinga University.
Kalinga.
But it was online.
Okay. Okay. Right. Basically, when we talk about managerial economics, we kind of focus on microeconomics. Managerial economics is all about majority is all about the microeconomics, right? Because microeconomics is the problem that is dealt at micro level, at individual level, at business level, at firm level, at individual level. So basically, managerial economics is all about the it is a social science which studies human behavior in relation to optimizing allocation of available resources to the given end, right? Given and at micro level, individual level. Managerial economics is the decision making power of a manager. How it is ultimately the concept is same. The concept, as you can see on your screen, the scarcity. Scarcity of what? Scarcity of resources that a manager has to taken care of. It has to utilize the limited resources to unlimited, unlimited wants, unlimited. These are the problem that I have, as you can see on your screen also, right? Scarcity. Sorry, scarcity problem. Unlimited choice, limited resources, so it has to taken care of this scarcity concern. What to produce, how to produce, whom to produce, right? These are the big problem that is being created because of the problem of scarcity of resources. A manager of the firm, a manager of the company has to taken care of all these 3 problems, right? What to produce, how to produce, and whom to produce, because of the resources, scarcity of the resources, limited resources, and unlimited choices. It has to deal with unlimited wants, so it has to make balance. So that's why this ultimately have a problem of choice, right? So manager has to make choice how to allocate its resources in relation to the demand. So it has to taken care of all these things. And right, this is the basic concern. Management decision problems, right? These are the managerial economics has management decision problem, economic theory, microeconomics, and macroeconomics. Although it considers some part of macro, but majority of the part is concerned with microeconomics, right? Because we are going to study all the price analysis, demand analysis, supply analysis, cost and revenue analysis, market analysis. So all are the part of microeconomics, profit decision making, and all the principles related to decision making. So these all are the concern of microeconomics, but ultimately we'll have some part of macro also, right? Some part of macro also, and mathematical economics also. When we study the decision science, we also study mathematical economics also. Ultimately, in a nutshell, both will come to managerial economics, application of economic theory and decision to solve the managerial problems, right? So managerial decision problems to solve करने के लिए we all need these things, and ultimately it will give optimal solution to managerial decision problems, right? So ultimately, in a nutshell, we can say that, so basically it is the social science which studies human behavior in relation to optimizing allocation of available resources to achieve the given end. So ultimately, the concept is almost same of economics and managerial economics. The basic problem is scarcity of resources. So a manager has to think about the scarcity of resources, how it has to manage its scarce resources in relation to demand, right? And ultimately, these are the characteristics of managerial economics. It involves an application of economic theory, especially microeconomics. I have told you earlier, it involves an application of economic theory, especially microeconomics, analysis to practical problem solving in real business life. It is essentially applied microeconomics, right? So you should know about this. You should mug up it. It is essentially applied microeconomics. Managerial economics is all about the applied microeconomics, right? The applied concern of microeconomics is being dealt by managerial economics, right? It is a science as well as art. Definitely, economics is a science as well as an art, right? It tell us it is based on various facts and hypotheses. We have to prove certain things, and as an art, it tell us how to do a certain job in a systematic manner. So that's why it is an art also. It facilitates better managerial discipline. It explores and enhances economic mindfulness and awareness of business problems and managerial decisions. So it is a science as well as an art, facilitating better managerial discipline. It explores and enhances economic mindfulness and awareness of business problems and managerial decisions. So it is an art and science. It explores various problems, mindfulness and awareness of business problems. It is concerned with firms' behavior in optimum allocation of resources. Ultimately, this is the term that you used to see in managerial economics, optimum allocation of resources. That means maximum utilization of the given resources is called optimum allocation of resources in a best possible way. It provides tools to help in identifying the best course among the alternative and competing activities in any productive sector, whether private or public. So it provides tools to help in identifying the best course among the alternatives. What are the different alternatives that is being used? And it provides tools to help in identifying the best course among alternatives and competing activities, right? In any productive sector. So basically, microeconomics is managerial economics has two big tools, right? Right. First is demand, and second is supply. So these are the tools which we have to be dealt very deeply. You know, we should have a basic and a strong knowledge of demand and supply. Then only we'll able to understand what managerial economics is all about, right? So it provides tools to help in identifying the best course among the alternative and competing activities in any productive sources. And these are the demand analysis, and these are the scope of managerial economics, right? Demand analysis and forecasting, cost analysis, production and supply analysis, pricing decisions, policies and practices, profit management, and capital management. These are the points that need to be taken care of while we study the scope of managerial economics, right? First is demand analysis and forecasting. Demand analysis we have to look, and forecasting we have to look, right? So first we need to like this demand analysis and forecasting. A business firm is an economic organism which transforms productive resources into goods. So definitely, the ultimately the final goods is basically produced by the business firms, and it is an economic organism which transform productive resources into final goods that are being able to sold in the market. So ultimately, this is the work of the business. This is the profession of a business firm. It transforms various productive resources into goods that are being sold into a market. A major part of managerial decision making depends on accurate estimates of demand. Majority decision is depend on accurate estimates of demand. We have to have a very deep knowledge. We have to have a very deep understanding uh, of demand, right? Because everything of the firm, everything of the business is basically based on demand. Before production schedules can be prepared and resources employed, a forecast of future sale is essential. Forecasting is very necessary. Demand analysis is very necessary. If your demand is low, you will have low profit. Your firm will be a losses. Will have to be a losses. You have to see certain problems. You have to face certain problems. That's why you have to have you have to have a good amount of demand of your product, yeah, of your business, right? Of your business product, you have to have enough demand. That's that in so in that situation, you will have profits. But if your demand is low, definitely your profit will be low. You have to bear certain failures in the business. So that's why demand analysis is very important, right? Demand analysis is very important. It is the demand that creates the profit for you. It creates economies for you, right? Economies of scale for you. But if demand is low, it will not have a good effects. It will ultimately lead to loss. It will have diseconomies, right? It will have diseconomies of scale, and it will create problems for you. So before production schedules and can be prepared and resources employed, a forecast of future sales is essential, right? So we have to also make various forecasts of future sales also. It is also essential. This forecast can also serve as a guide to management for maintaining or strengthening market position and enlarging profit. So a good manager has to be futuristic. He should have a broad vision regarding forecasting of the business. He should know what is going to happen in future. He should predict future properly. This forecast can also serve as a guide to management for maintaining or strengthening market position. So this forecast is very helpful to maintain, to guide to the management for maintaining or strengthening market position and enlarging profits. So that's why a manager has to have a thorough knowledge of maintaining or strengthening market positions and enlarging profits. So it should overall, in a nutshell, it has to have a proper knowledge of demand of the whatever is happening in the market. It has to have a proper knowledge, and he should be a good forecaster. How it can forecasting means basically increasing your demand, increasing your profits, enlarging your markets, right? So this is the concern of forecasting of demand, right? Forecasting is a very important tool in forecasting is very important tool in decision making, in making your business. It is basically the process of attempting to predict the future condition, right? It is the process of predicting the future condition of the economy using a combination of widely followed indicators, right? Government officials and basically businessmen also basically managers use economic forecast to determine fiscal and monetary policies and plan future operating activities also, right? So government officials also use forecasting, business managers also use forecasting, and it can be done through to determine fiscal and monetary policies. So politics is highly partisan, right? So basically economic forecasting are geared towards predicting quarterly or annual GDP, right? So basically it is a concern of making a proper decision, right? And the next slide is cost analysis. Definitely, cost analysis is very important. Cost is the expenditure incurred on producing a commodity. Whatever we are producing, whatever we are incurring on producing a certain commodity, it is called cost, right? So cost is the expenditure incurred on the incurred on the production process. A study of economic cost combined with data drawn from firms' accounting records can yield significant cost estimates that are useful for management decision. So you have to have a very good knowledge regarding the cost, because cost is the thing that decides your profit. If your cost is minimum, you will have larger profit. If your cost is high, you have you have less profits, right? So that's why you have to have a good knowledge of cost analysis. You should have a proper understanding of cost analysis, because cost will ultimately decide your future business future. The factors causing variation in cost must be recognized and allowed for its management is to arrive at a cost estimate which are significant for planning purposes. So the factor which are causing variation in cost, which are increasing your cost, which are affecting your cost, definitely need to be taken care of. An element of cost uncertainty exists because all factors determining cost are not always known or controllable. They are saying that there is an element of cost also, uncertainty exists in regarding the element of cost, because all factors determining cost are not always known. All the factors that are determining cost are not always known. There are certain type of costs in the business, like there are fixed costs, there are variable costs also. Fixed costs are the costs that are being fixed, that cannot be changed, right? That cannot be changed. Either you are producing zero unit of output, or either you are producing 1 lakh of output, the fixed cost will remain fixed, right? It cannot change, because for example, initial business establishment expenses. When you start your business, there are initial establishment expenses that is to be taken care of. So that is called fixed cost, right? And the second is variable cost. Variable costs are the cost that changes with the level of output, right? When we produce more of a commodity, we use more amount of cost, that is called variable cost. So there are certain variable type of cost. Average cost is called the per unit cost. There is marginal cost also. Marginal cost are the cost that change with the level of output, right? That change with the level of output. For example, change in total cost is basically called marginal cost. For example, if we are producing one unit, we are using rupees 20, and if we are producing one more, for example 2 units, we have 25 total cost. So 5 is the marginal cost, right? Change in total cost. So these are the costs which need to be taken care of. So fixed cost, variable cost, marginal cost, total cost, average cost, right? Average cost. So these are the very important costs that a manager must know, and these are the costs which need to be taken care of. They should be it should be at the minimal level, so that we can produce more of more of goods, right? We can have more of the profits, right? So these are the cost analysis. I hope you got I got clear to you. I hope.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
So we will, Samriddhi, we will have we'll stop from here, because I hope I have completed the 2 hour lecture. We will continue from here from our next class. I'll try to give more concern on the cost analysis in the next class, right? Now, if you have any question, you can ask me. If you have any question from our previous PPT or from this PPT till now, if you have any question, you can ask.
No, sir, not now.
Right. So I hope I have given you the basic idea. You have the basic idea of our of economics.
Yes, sir.
These are the principles that we studied: micro, macro, positive, normative. These are the principles one should know, definitely know, right? What is positive, what is normative, what is micro, what is macro, what is opportunity cost, what are incentives, what is PPC, what is absolute, what is comparative. These are the principles. What the shape of curves, right? Shape of curves, I have told you, based on opportunity, based on rate, right? Rate of change. If the rate of change is increasing, we will have concave shape, and if the rate is decreasing, we have convex shape, right? So the shape of the curves, any curve in the economics is based on the rate, rate of change, the change of variables, the change in the variables. When we are changing one variable, what will be the effect on another variable? If it is increasing, the rate is increasing, the shape will be concave. If the rate is decreasing, the shape will be convex, right? So that's why PPC curve is concave to origin, because its rate is increasing. If in case if rate start declining, we will have convex type of PPC curve, but it is not possible because increasing rate of rate is increasing. MOC is basically increases when we employ more of factors, right? Okay. I hope everything is clear to you now. We will start from the next class of cost analysis, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you for today's lecture.
Thank you.